Let them do it for you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they get, if you shave it beforehand, they get mad because that's something they can't take away from you.
Yeah.
So they're gonna take it out of your ass.
Yeah. What they do is they take the pictures.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're here today. I want to thank all you guys for coming. I know the world is freaking crazy, and I know about this curfew crap, and I know all this crap, so I'm thankful for every single person who's here. I want to tell you that I've known the Azarian family for probably about 25 years. Darren's parents lived across the street, about three or four doors down from me. I met them first. Actually, the parents, wonderful people. Then Darren started using me for a plumber. We became extremely close friends, and I had the privilege of knowing this man now. And I got to tell myself to say man because he's not a little boy anymore. For basically almost pretty much his whole life. And I got to be honest, Alex, when I first met you, you were always a good kid and you were always smart, but you were a little bit scrawny. Okay? He's a little bit scrawny. So I've seen basically in the last year this scrawny little boy become a man. He's working out. He's turning into a stud, and then he joined the United States Army, which makes me proud as hell. As you know, his father was in the Army, I was in the Army, half the guys here were in the Army, and when Darren went in and you guys went in, some of you guys didn't go in by choice, and the ones that did, it was kind of cool to join the Army. Nowadays, believe me, if you don't know this, it's not cool to join the Army. The school institution is not going to encourage you very much, and your friends aren't going to encourage you. And it's like, who is this guy that's going to go defend my freedom? But I want to tell you guys that, like I said, I've known this kid forever. I'm so freaking proud of you. You've turned into a man. When you come back, I can't wait to see you on your first leave. It's going to be awesome. And I'm grateful that you're stepping up to the plate, not like the freaking snowflake millennials. And you're going to defend our country. And I can't say more about it. At this point,
ask him in 2 weeks what he thinks.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do a couple things. Right now, what I want to do is Doug, and I feel like I'm a complete idiot and I'm embarrassed, but Doug thought of this. I didn't think of this, and I should have. I'm the one who should have thought of this, but I didn't. Anyway, Doug thought of this. Doug is awesome. Doug has something that he wants to present to you, so I'd like to ask Doug to please come up here and take over for a minute and present what you need to do.
Thank you. Hey, this is teamwork, right?
Absolutely.
This is what you do in a team. Absolutely. And Alex, you're gonna experience that firsthand, right? Because I guess my takeaway from being in boot camp was that I approach it as being an individual, right? Individual ambitions. And that's really the American ideal, right? The individuality of us all. But when you join the Army, when you join the service, that goes away. It's teamwork. You're all going to have individual traits and ways of doing things and skills, and you're going to collaborate, and you're going to use each other to make things happen. And that's the beautiful thing about what you're going to be doing right now. Right? But I would be remiss to say that if you were in the Navy right now, you'd be in a skipper's chair. Right? I don't know if they do that in the Army, do they? Is this the colonel's chair? No, this is skipper's chair. Okay. So it doesn't apply to you. You stay right there. I was there when your dad mentioned that we found out which day you were going into boot camp. And all these guys right here, right, are so excited, right? Right, so we're living vicariously through you, right? And the fact that we have a young person going to serve their country, right? It made our day, right? So, and I'm glad you're with us right now, right? So, what I'd like for you to do is stand up. I want to present something, and I also want to talk about this as well, right? This is The Crisis by Thomas Paine. Right? It was written December 23rd, 1776. The siege of Boston started in the summer of 1775. Right? That's when the fervor of our revolutionaries came up to assist then Colonel Washington, right, to fight the British in Boston. So there's a perimeter around Boston, Bunker Hill, that they would shoot pot shots into the British, right, to try to get them out of the city, right? It took one person, Henry Knox, with a creative idea, and this is the beautiful thing about the military. You're going to find individuals with incredible skill and ideas, and they run with it. So Colonel Washington asked Henry Knox to go get the guns and the cannons from Fort Ticonderoga. It took them about 2 or 3 months. It took 100 people. During the winter, they got these armaments on sleds and oxen and brought it to Boston. In about within 2-3 weeks, the British hightailed it out of Boston. So that's a beautiful thing about the genesis of our country. The fact that you had these ruffians coming to support the freedoms, the independence from Britain, and the fact that there was a hope and someday that we were going to be liberated from the Brits, right? So Thomas Paine didn't serve, but he was a mastermind of the pen, right? Come December 23rd, 1776, right? George Washington and the troops had to move down to New Jersey, to Delaware, right? They were deflated, right? The Continental Congress was not paying them. Re-enlistments were almost over. By December 31st, re-enlistments were over. People were leaving. The country was demoralized. He wrote this, The Crisis by Thomas Paine. These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of their country. But he that stands by it now deserves the love and thanks of man and woman. Tyranny, like hell, is not easily conquered. Yet we have this consolation with us that the harder the conflict, the more glorious the triumph. What we obtain too cheap, we esteem too lightly. It is dearness only that gives us everything its value. Heaven knows how to put a proper price upon its goods, and it would be strange indeed if so celestial an article as freedom should not be highly rated. General George Washington had this read to the troops on December 25th. On December 26th, General George Washington and his army crossed the Delaware to fight the Hessians, who were the hired guns for the Brits, in the Battle of Trenton. General George Washington won a very decisive victory during that time. And that's all because of the mighty pen of Thomas Paine and the will and the attributes and the fervor of our revolutionary heroes of the time. So when things get kind of crazy and demoralizing in the army, I'd like for you to remind yourself of this.
I will.
Okay, so what you're going to do...
Jump in there, Dad.
I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
Very cool. Very good. All right.
Okay, stand up again. Okay, so we're going to do a couple of things. First of all, real quick, if anybody's super hungry, they can grab a sandwich and we can do about this. But I want to go around the room real quick and just say your name, what branch you're in, and just you can give them a short paragraph or sentence of advice on what he's going to be entering. What's the date again? June 15th, in less than 2 weeks. Anyway, can we start with you, Doug?
Yeah, absolutely.
Your career.
Chief Warrant Officer 3, Douglas Leon Cavallo, retired U.S. Navy. My words of advice for you: it's going to suck at times, but you're always going to be with somebody to absorb the suck with. So you'll never suffer in silence. Never reach out to a buddy, reach out to somebody to help you through things.
Awesome.
Jerry Collins, Staff Sergeant, U.S. Army, 18th Armored Cavalry, 3rd Armored Cavalry. My grandson is finished basic training, I think, 6 months ago. And one of the texts he sent me was, Grandpa, he calls me Grampy. He says, Grampy, I haven't shit in 5 days. Because you have to shit with 12 other guys in the same, hey, how you doing? Since he finally got over it. His basic training was just an absolute son of a bitch. But now he works 8 to 5 every day in Fort Bliss. He's a corporal. He drives a Paladin, which is a 155 self-control.
Ray Palm, California National Guard, also active duty, Fort Lewis. Didn't go, they wouldn't let me, didn't want to. And
You had a baby then.
came home, spent my time, became a civilian, and here I am.
Chuck Hughes, U.S. Navy. You know, there's some of us that go in the Navy. I did carrier duty for 3 years. I spent a full year off the coast of Vietnam, and my last station was NES Fallon, Nevada, which is the naval bombing range. And boot camp was easy. You get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, they beat on a trash can, you line up, you go, and then you march. And you learn how to march.
And run.
And run.
Blake Highfield, U.S. Army, spent a year in Vietnam coordinating artillery support for an infantry battalion. You're going to love Fort Sill. Just say yes, sir, and don't even think what else happened.
Art Nabawaki, U.S. Navy Seabees. I did 2 tours of Vietnam. My dad gave me some advice before boot camp, and he said, Art, just do what they tell you. If they tell you to fold it 2 inches, fold it 2 inches, not 2 1/4, not 1 3/4. If you do exactly what they tell you, you'll stay out of trouble. And that's the advice I ever got.
If it's wrong, they're wrong.
I'm Vic Bustillos, United States Marine Corps, 1975 to 1996. I just missed Vietnam by a month, I think, because the last Marines flew out, I think, in April of 75. And I graduated from high school in June that year. Otherwise, I probably would have been drafted, you know. Advice. Keep track of your boots. In our barracks, open squad bay, there were 75 of us, all slipped in bunk beds. You couldn't scuff the floor, so you didn't wear your boots inside there. So you're barefoot, or in your stocking feet. Drill instructor comes in, he says, we're gonna go eat, get on the road for trial. So everybody grabs their boots and they run outside and lace up your boots and get in formation. I think I had been in the head. I ran to my bunk, and my boots were gone. Where's my boots? And I'm looking around, and across the squad bay I see another pair of boots. Go pick it up. Our name's inside it. You're going to mark all your clothing. Yeah. Ortiz. Got my boots. We'll line up. We march to the mess hall, I don't know, a mile or so. And then we get from 4 lines. They made us get in one long line. We're getting in line. I'm looking for him. I said, Ortiz, I got your boots. He says, oh, man, he's standing like this. You got my boots? Yeah. I says, what size are these? He says, 11. He says, what size? He says, what size do you wear? And I said, 9. So he squeezed his size 11 feet into some size 9 boots, and then he marched a mile. Yeah. Do what they tell you, even if it doesn't make sense. Listen carefully. Once I thought I was smarter than him, and I didn't do what he said. He wasn't happy about that. Godspeed.
I'm Mike, U.S. Army, 1966 to 68. Took 1 year in Vietnam.
18 what?
I was a draftee. I thought I would never get drafted because I was married, but they lifted that exemption in 66, and I was gone by the end of the year. My entire infantry, or my entire boot camp, our average age was 25, and the drill sergeant told us it's usually 18 or 19. So I went in late, went to Vietnam, came home. One little story, some of you have heard this, but my wife, Carolyn, I bought a Super 8 camera, movie camera, and in Vietnam, but I couldn't find film for it. So I wrote Carolyn, I said, would you please send me some film? because I was hoping to go to the Bob Hope show. And so she sent me 4 rows, that's 50 feet each, 200 feet. So I do get to go to the Bob Hope show. I use up all the film. I send it home, and then I'm waiting for her to, tell me how wonderful it was, right? Anyway, she writes back and she says, "Were you really at the Bob Hope show?" and I said, "What do you mean?" And I wrote back. She said, "Because of the 200 feet of film, you had 150 feet of Raquel Welch." Yeah. Anyway, that was right before I was going to go on R&R, so I had a one-track mind. And good luck to you, Alex.
Jack Wunderlich, U.S. Air Force, 1951, or 1851 to 55. I tried to join the Navy. All my family was in the Navy, right? They weren't taking anybody at that time, so I ended up in the Air Force. Spent 4 years there, and found out I was lower the whale ship when I first got there.
Lower.
and I didn't get much higher.
I'm Jerry Burnham. I enlisted in the U.S. Navy. I was in from 1969 to 1974. Spent the whole time on one, besides going to different schools, on one ship. It was a new ship, a nuclear-powered frigate, which was really neat. Had a whole lot of different duties and everything. But I had learned from a friend of mine about not volunteering, because he, being a devout Catholic, the chaplain needed to volunteer. And he volunteered for that, and it turned out the chaplain wanted to build a chapel. And he was getting loads of cement and cement blocks and stuff delivered. So what was thought he was going to be an altar boy turned out to be a construction guy. So anyway, had a lot of different duties on the ship, to the police station, which was fun. But once you get boot camp, you'll wonder why you did this, and after that, you'll say, "Geez, now I'm learning stuff. I'm getting a real skill, and do your best with that." You make a lot of friends.
You done? I'm Jim Turner. I was in the Navy from 64 to 70. I was working at the phone company and going to school at night, and the program I got into eventually was for college students. So you could go to school, you could do your summer camp, you could do your weekly meetings, and then you could put off your active duty to whenever you wanted to, basically. And so I was contemplating that. I got a letter in the mail. My mother called me at work and says, "You got a letter from the Army." Oh shit. So I went home, I looked at the letter, I called my boss, I said, "I'm calling in sick tomorrow." And I went to Los Alamitos Naval Air Station. Signed up, got my first issue of uniform, and the nice thing about the program I was in, that boot camp is 2 weeks.
Oh, whoa.
And we get up in the morning. The first morning we got up at 5, and they ran us out from the grinder and to the mess hall. About half the guys were throwing up. So the next day, this guy's mother called the commanding officer and said, "My son threw up because you're running him around like crazy." So the next morning we got up at 6 o'clock and watched this guy pack his clothes to go to Illinois somewhere for boot camp. Wow. Never want us make weight. Period.
Whether it's Navy or not.
Yeah, actually you're making dirt clods, but that's beside the point. And then I was on active duty from 65 through 67. And then when I got off active duty, I was reserves for a while. But the ship that I was on was the USS Pine Island. It was a seaplane tender. It was the last of the seaplane tenders. And most of the guys here don't even know what airplane we flew. But it was a P-5. And it was not an amphibious plane. It was a seaplane. So to take off, you had
get it in the bay, you had to run it down through the bay and lift off, and then you would land it in the bay. And one of my jobs was fixing radios. The other job was hanging around all day long, waiting for the plane to get back so we could clear the sea lane. And we had to clear the sea lane. We'd go down with this crash boat, go through the sea lane, and we'd take all the debris that was in the water. And there was pieces of trees, there was rats, there was all kinds of stuff, and water buffalo, and occasional Viet Cong. And
that all became soup that night.
Had to have something to eat. But I really had a good time. I got to go to Hong Kong, I got to go to the Philippines, I got to go to China, I got to go all kinds of places. Yeah, for liberty. Yeah, Australia, New Zealand, Pago, and on and on and on. But I had a really good time, and you can have a good time too. Just don't fight them. Do what they tell you to do, and smile.
Smile. It's crazy when you do that. Don't smile. Don't smile.
Yeah, I was gonna say, don't smile. Don't smile.
Well, maybe it's different in the Navy because,
It was.
yeah. But anyway,
All the
enjoy
boys will
yourself.
let you smile.
Yeah, and don't worry about what they ask you to do because they're asking everybody else to do it. And don't call your mother and say, because it'll be adios. Now you're going to real stuff. So, anyway, good luck. Ron?
Ron Lars, United States Navy, 66 through 69. Spent 3 years in Japan on our tin can. Saw all of the Orient. It was beautiful. Boot camp, as they said, 4 o'clock in the morning. Wake up! And they called us every name but who we were. We marched a lot. Had to scrub our own clothes. There was all kinds of things happening back then. And got to see some really good spots. So good luck to you. And I'll forgive you for going to the Army.
Mr. Cloud.
Well, Art and Vic stole part of my advice to you. That is,
Did you lose your boots?
no, no, but it's a yes or no, sir, and no excuse, sir. Okay, and you don't smile. The only guys that smile are the ones that go to the shower by themselves. And the other one is you have to have a mantra. And my mantra was that there's nothing they could do to me to hurt me. And I survived several events with that. So it'll get tough sometimes. Boot camp is probably not the worst of it. For me, it was OCS, jump school, and ranger school, and all those sergeants down there thought that, they let me get a hold of a second lieutenant or a first lieutenant and reckon it with the corporals. So there'll be a lot of stuff worse for you. Depends upon how far you go and how long you go. So just keep it in mind that you're there for a purpose, and that is to get through whatever it is you have to get through. There's nothing they can do to hurt you. Okay. So you just suck it up and just keep going.
Excellent. Yeah. Aaron, do you want to say anything? Okay. So you know who I am, and it's funny because these guys are throwing all these dates around. I was born in 1969. I went in the Army in 1991. They gave you some great advice. I was going to say, do what you're told, keep your head down. Don't do anything to draw attention to yourself. I can tell you one time I was pumped up, I had all this extra energy and we were marching, and don't ask me why guys, but I was doing this thing where I was like popping up just a little bit. When we got to where we were going, and Joe Sergeant pulled me aside and it's called smoking. He smoked me because I was doing something that the other guys weren't doing, and I was drawing attention to myself. So don't draw attention to yourself. Don't take shortcuts. One time we were in BDUs, we had 2 different socks. We had our white socks for PT and our green socks with our BDUs. And we were in a gymnasium. I forget what was happening. It was a thunderstorm or something. Anyway, Joe Sergeant told us all to take off our boots. And we all took off our boots, and everybody had green stock. And there was one dude that had his White Sox on. Guess what happened to that? Smoking. They smoked. They gave him crap. You're gonna make friends. I still have friends in the Army. A lot of these guys have friends that are gonna be your friends for the rest of your life. When you're in a stressful situation, you're gonna build a comradeship that's awesome. And I think the best advice is, like these guys said, just do what you're told, keep your head down. They can't kill you. Pain is just weakness leaving the body, and you're gonna do awesome. So, very proud of you again.
You'll feel like they're trying to kill you when you go through the gas station.
Right? My first night I got here. The first night I got there, I was asking myself, why did I do this? Why am I here? I want to go home, all this stuff, but it just, this too shall pass, and
Inches
it's
on each
going
side.
to be awesome.
Through a canister.
So this time what I'd like to do is call